Sound that's good. What's your favorite season, Talib? Winter. Hmm. It never hurts to have it more than once. I just want to see it. I promise. I'll give it back. Bismillah. He said, a bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. SubhanAllah.
Yeah, we good.
Mm-mm-mm. SubhanAllah. May Allah's name what? Be praised. طيب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Before we get started with some of the questions that Allah allows us to answer or to shed some light upon, we'll introduce you to another book with regards to strengthening and enriching our culture of seeking knowledge, the culture of disciplism. This book here, maybe a few of you have, maybe you don't, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. It's not specific to seeking knowledge, but it's like, brown on rice with regards to talab al-ilm. The name of the book is أين نحن من أخلاق السلف. أين نحن من أخلاق السلف. Where are we from the behavior of the pious predecessors? Where are we from the behavior of the Salaf Salih? It's compiled by two authors, Abdul Aziz ibn Nasir al-Jalil and Bahauddin ibn Fatih Aqil. Dar Taiba is the publishing house, 2008, so it's a relatively new book. And it's a book like many others, that has, it's like a compendium of the athar of the Salaf Salih. What they did, what they didn't do, with regards to the different aspects of life, the different aspects of the deen, how they prayed, how they fasted, their relationship with the Quran, their relationship with others, their teachers, their students, so on and so forth. In the table of context, it says, as-salafu wal-ikhlasu was-sidq. The pious predecessors in sincerity and truthfulness. As-salafu wal-khashya wal-muraqabatu lillah. The salaf in their fear of Allah and their consciousness of Allah watching them. As-salafu wa karahiyatuhu min ash-shuhra. How they hated fame. As-salafu wal-khawfu min al-ujbi. How they were afraid of becoming conceited and stuck up, full of themselves. As-salafu wal-zuhdu fi dunya. Being an aesthetic in the worldly life. As-salafu wal-zuhdu fi riyasa. Trying to avoid leadership. As-salafu wal-fiqhu fi din. Learning the religion. As-salafu wal-qiyaduhum lil-haq. How they submitted to the truth. As-salafu wal-futya. Giving fatwas. As-salafu wal-Qur'anul Kareem. The Quran. As-salafu wa fiqhu al-ijtihad fi al-ibadah. Working hard and worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal. As-salafu wal-amru bil-ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar. Enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. As-salafu wal-jihadu fi sabilillah. Fighting in Allah's cause. Naam, that's also what? From the way of the Salaf. He says, As-salafu was-sabru ala al-masa'ib. Being patient upon calamities. As-salafu wal-fitnu fi ad-din. Trials and tribulations in the religion. As-salafu wal-fitnu bayna al-muslimin. The trials and tribulations, the strife between the Muslims. As-salafu wa fitnatu as-salatin. The Salaf and the trial of leaders, of sultans. Once again, that's also what? From the way of the Salaf. And not like the people who only take a slice and leave off 7 other slices. Everyone understand this? They take a totally lax, and that's at best. That's at best, saying it's a laxed position with rulers. And they take a total extreme, and that's also a mild word when it comes to an innovator. And the scale is like what? Like this. And they drive so fast, so hard, bidah. But the rulers, ruling what Allah sent down, with other than Allah sent down, doesn't even what? It doesn't even come up into the discussion. That's nothing from the what? the Salaf. He says, or they say, as-salafu wa fitnatun nisa, the trial of women. The fitna of what? Of women. As-salafu wal birru bil ummahat, being benevolent to your mother. It's also from the what? The way of the Salaf is to treat your mother kindly, respect your mother, obey your mother. As-salafu wal birru bil astiqa'i wa husn as-suhbah. He says, treating your friends kindly. Being a good friend. You understand all I mean? Your friend is supposed to treat what? Kindly. Not teacher, Sheikh Mufti. If I say I want some sushi tonight, you supposed to what? Honor me. What did he say? He said what? Honor me. Not him, but what? Honor me. Don't forget that when we go to the restaurant. He says, as-salafu wa huquq al-khalq, the rights of the created beings, the rights of the creatures, whether it's an insect, a cat, a pet, a kafir, anything that's makhluk. They have what? Huquq. As-salafu wa ta'amulu ma'al akhta, the salaf in dealing with mistakes. How to deal with what? A mistake that you make, a mistake that what? Someone else makes. Who's above you, who's similar to you, or what? Who's beneath you. There's a what? There's a way. He says, as-salafu wal adabu ma'al ulama, the salaf and the etiquette with the scholars of al-Islam, how to deal with them and how to behave with them, for or against. When we say adab, many people they think it only means just submitting and listening and na'am sheikh. But it's more than that. From the greatest adab that you can have with the ulama is to take from them and to benefit from them. Everyone understand this? And to spread the true teachings. Everyone understand this? And they don't want, I don't think a true scholar wants a tape recorder or wants a clone or a twin of him. He wants what? Someone else with a mind to benefit from him. Everyone understand this? Let alone the fact is not putting him on a pedestal that Allah has not what? Placed him. And that does not mean it's disrespecting him. It doesn't mean that. He says, as-salafu wa adabul kalami wal lisan, the tongue, speaking, talking. As-salafu wa hifdhul waqt, preservation of time. As-salafu wal i'tidalu fi dhahki wal mizah, being moderate when it comes to laughing and joking. Al-Khatimah, then it's the conclusion or the end of the book. Then is the bibliography. Then there's page 143, the table of contents. So let's take a brief excerpt from page 95 with regards to the Salaf and the rulers. It says here in the 17th chapter, عن الأعمش عن مالك بن الحارث عن عبد الرحمن بن يزيد قلنا لعلقمة لو صليت في المسجد وجلسنا معك فتسأل قال أكره أن يقال هذا علقمة قال لو دخلت على الأمراء قال أخاف أن ينقصوا مني أكثر مما أنتقص منهم. Narrated A'mash from Malik ibn al-Harith from Abdurrahman ibn Yazid, who said that one day we said to Alqamah, who's from the Tabi'een, from the ulama of the Tabi'een, we said to Alqamah, why don't you pray in this mosque and sit down and let people ask you questions? He says, I fear for the people to say this is what? Alqamah. And we explained this in Kitab al-Ilm of Zuhair ibn Harb, Abu Khaythama, the understanding of these athar. Do a class, not do a class, putting yourself in front of the people, people putting you in front of the people. The proper balance, we explained this. He says, then I asked him, why don't you enter upon the rulers? Go to the leaders, go to the rulers. He says, I'm afraid for them to take more from me than I'll take from them. I'm afraid for more of me in my situation to be depleted than vice versa. Meaning, I may go in there and want to give them advice, and in actuality, what? They have an influence on me. Buy me out, change me, etc. وقال سليمان التيمي قال الأحنف ثلاث في ما أذكرهن إلا لمعتبر. He says there are three, Sulaiman al-Taymi, he said, Al-Ahnaf from the Salaf, he said, three things, ما أذكرهن إلا لمعتبر. The only thing I can, he says three special things that I'll mention and I'll say about myself, for lack of better translation. ما أتيت باب السلطان إلا أن أدعى. He says, I never visited a leader, a sultan, except that I was invoked and called. In other words, I never went there what? Willingly. I only went there after I was summoned. وَلَا دَخَلْتُ بَيْنَ اثْنَيْنِ حَتَّى يُدْخِلَانِ بَيْنَهُمَا. He says, and I never interjected between two people or got involved between two people. I never meddled between two people except after they pulled me in. Whether that's husband and wife, two brothers fighting, older brother, younger brother, two scholars, two students. He says, I never meddled between people unless they what? wanted me to help them out. Huh? Listen to these words. How many of us meddle daily? It's none of your business. Who asked you? For your comment, for your opinion, for your view, for what you think. Who asked you, Yahi? Billah alayk, who asked you? I don't understand this. Who asked you to take it upon yourself to do this between this person and that person? And we understand the opposite as well. Many people, they get upset when they hear certain things or they hear certain rulings. Akhi, I did not contact your wife. Your wife contacted me. Everyone understand this? Your son came to my masjid and told me that his parents were abusing him. I didn't go and meddle at your house and knock on your door and hear you beating up your son. But your son what? He came to me, and it's my duty and my job to what? Say what's needed to be said. So I didn't meddle or put myself between two people, but what? Everyone understand this? Last but not least, he says, وَمَا أَذْكُرُ أَحْدًا يَقُومَ أو وَمَا أَذْكُرُ أَحْدًا أَنْ يَقُومَ مِنْ عِنْدِي إِلَّا بِخَيْرٍ. He says, and I can never ever, I can't recollect, I can't think about anyone leaving me with a bad taste in his mouth. I don't recall anyone leaving my company, getting up from sitting with me, and he's what? إِلَّا بِخَيْرٍ. Except he has something good to say about me or something good to feel about me. Ponder on these what? On these words. If we implemented these three things and other things, how much better would the modern world be today? Huh? So if you get a chance to buy the book, buy it, inshallah. And if you can't buy the book, then get the PDF. This is crucially important for the student of knowledge, for the disciple of Hadith, and for the everyday Muslim. And as I said before, there are other books that are similar to this. Some books they've translated in English with regards to the narrations of the Salaf. And there are other books in Arabic which have compiled these different athar. And of course, it's nothing like you actually going into the library and finding them and documenting them, putting them in your journal yourself. And with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all success. Tafadhal.
Muhammad Ali, London, UK. May Allah protect you, Sheikh, and hasten your UK visit. What is considered excessive sleep? I sleep after Fajr and I enjoy mid-afternoon naps.
Question from the UK. May Allah bless you, keep you safe, preserve you, and expiate your trip to the UK. Ameen. Jazakallah khairan, barakallah fiqh. Excessive sleep, like money, like worldly possessions, like food, is relative and subjective. It's relative and subjective. There are general things that everyone can agree on. It's just too much sleep. You're hibernating, right? And then there's other people who may see 6 hours to be too much. Some say 8 hours is too much, but some people may need 8 hours. I need a full rest, okay? I would say the answer to the question for a student of knowledge or whatever you are, whatever you're trying to do, is just look at electronics. Look at electronics, all right? Some electronics, some devices, you can charge really quick, right? But the battery goes fast. And some phones, it takes a while to get to 100, but when the phone is up, the battery is what? Strong. And it depends on what you're using the device for. You're using the Wi-Fi, you're using data, you're using Bluetooth, you have it in the airplane mode. Are you texting? Are you emailing? Are you uploading? Are you downloading? Are you streaming? Whatever you're doing with your device determines on how long the device needs to what? Charge and cool down. And that's why they send you different messages. It's been a week since you restarted your device. Okay? Your screen time is such and such amount of time. This amount of percentage is used in Safari. This amount of percentage is used in iBooks. Heck of that. So it depends on what you're doing in life. If you're studying and seeking knowledge, and when you're up, you're really going hard and you're getting quality work in, you need to rest. And you don't need to abuse yourself. And once more, those athar that you may read may be what? Confusing, or you may have an improper understanding. Fulan only slept for an hour out of every day. Alqama, Hassan al-Basri. That was Alqama, that was Hassan al-Basri, and that's not what? You, in the UK in 2019. Okay? Different types of bodies, different connections with Allah. Allahu alam. Al-Muhim, it depends on the usage. So compare yourself to a device. If you only use the phone a little bit, you don't need but so much charging or cooling off. But if you're always using it, you need to what? Whack it. And if you can do without it, then alhamdulillah, do without it. Try to get in as much as you possibly can, while you can. And Allah knows best.
What are your thoughts on the subconscious mind? I've seen some videos of people saying positive affirmations and repeating a positive phrase can impact or reprogram your subconscious mind and changing behavior patterns, quitting harmful substances, etc. Is it haram to believe in the science of this and wanting to try it? I know everything comes from Allah and nothing can happen without permission, but that's why I'm a little confused about this. Your advice would be appreciated.
Where's the question from?
Toronto.
Questions from Toronto with regards to the subconscious mind. What are your thoughts on the subconscious mind and different types of therapy and remedy and different types of medicinal practices with regards to the subconscious mind? Can we believe in this as Muslims? Quitting a substance, getting off a bad habit, doing something, etc. Jazakallah khairan, may Allah bless you. Very important question. And I think this deserves a whole entire Q&A session by itself. I would say is that there is no thought or opinion about the subconscious mind. I don't think anyone can deny its reality and its power. You go to the store, you look for certain products, you look for certain colors, you look for certain brands. You see a billboard and you immediately magically become what? Hungry. Or later on you think about something. I'm in the mood for French fries. Because of something that you what? May have seen. Well, heck of that. There's no doubt about that. Whether you call it subliminal, subconscious, someone says something to you, that's a reality. It's like deja vu. They asked us the other day. The proof that deja vu is true is that what? It takes place. There's no aqeedah on something that is what? Realistic. It's right there. Is it true or not? It's happening in front of your face. You see what I'm saying to you? And it's not just one person or one isolated situation. Now, what level do you go to of deja vu? Do you have control over it? It comes from a spirit? That's a different story. That's what? A different story. But the reality of it is that the subconscious mind is what? It's reality. Okay? So the brain that Allah Azza wa Jalla has created, without a doubt, is something extremely complex. And there are some scholars, some researchers, some physicians, they say that there are many, many scientific miracles in the Quran and Kareem, many of them. And from them is what Allah Azza wa Jalla mentions in Surah Al-Alaq. Allah, He mentions, كَلَّا لَإِن لَمْ يَنْتَهِ لَنَسْفَعًا بِالنَّاصِيَةِ نَاصِيَةٍ كَاذِبَةٍ خَاطِئَةٍ. Allah says if this person doesn't stop, لَنَسْفَعًا بِالنَّاصِيَةِ نَاصِيَةٍ كَاذِبَةٍ خَاطِئَةٍ. He says this nasiyah, this forehead, front of one's head, has the following descriptions. كَاذِبَةٍ خَاطِئَةٍ. It's a liar and it's a sinner. Or it's lying, or it's sinful. And there are some people who affirm that the front part of the brain is the source of bad, negative, dark, base emotions, feelings, and thoughts. So it's not an accident. Allah, He mentions the nasiyah, which is what? Kadhibatin khati'ah. Everyone understand this? And there are some people who affirm this. And there are many, many other things like this with regards to the brain, the heart, the stomach, the system, all types of things. The human body is complex. Allah, He mentions about man, how He created him. Fi ahsani taqweem. Ahsani taqweem. The best way possible, we've made man. So oftentimes people, they limit the creation of Allah. Oh, you can't say that. You can't say this. It's a science. Oh, why can't you? You think that the brain is just some lump of matter? You think the heart is just some lump of matter? This is the creation of Allah. And there are several different levels that the people are barely just getting to now that the Quran has affirmed in explicit or inexplicit means. Everyone understand this? So some of the scholars of Islam, they talk about hypnotizing someone. Is it permissible to hypnotize someone? And we know that some people say you can't hypnotize. Hypnotizing is calling upon the jinn, they say. You're calling on the jinn and you're talking to the jinn, but that's not true. And those ulama say that hypnotism is permissible because it's a science and it's a means of speaking to someone, but in a what? A different way and in a different what? Frequency. Like a radio. Has different what? Frequencies. You have to tune in. How you talk to someone, hollering at someone, asking someone, begging someone. Just look at it like when you deal with someone in your household. You may ask someone something nice and they won't hear it. You ask someone to do something, they won't hear it, but you offer them something. Or you come to them a certain time, or they see it, or whatever the case may be. Everyone understand this? So you have to be mindful of these things. So when it comes to the study of the brain, the study of the mind, subconscious, hypnotizing, psychology, psychiatric, all these types of things, we know is that it is not, if it's not against the Quran and the Sunnah, the direct Quran and Sunnah, it's possible to be true and it's possible not to be true. But we don't reject science just because it's not mentioned. Everyone understand this? You have cell phones. Is a cell phone mentioned in the Quran? But everyone has a what? Cell phone. And you accept the technology and the science that's included in the what? A cell phone. So stop the hypocrisy. Many people, they have hypocrisy. Oh, you can't say that you can go to a therapist. Huh? You can't go to a psychologist. No, that's not the Islamic way of fixing it. It's not always right. So there's a balance. There's a what? There's a balance. Everyone understand this? And Allah knows best.
how to draw the line between having privacy and being open with one's spouse when it comes with cell phones, social media accounts, etc.
Question is from our beloved brother Lutfi. May Allah bless him and allow him to marry a beautiful and righteous sister. I mean, how do you balance between being private or discreet with your wife and social media and your phones and things like this? That's hard. That's like, asking how do you get a cat and a dog to sit in one place? It's very difficult, almost impossible. Facebook, the whole concept of Facebook is what? It's to share and to connect with people. You see what I'm saying to you? YouTube, the whole purpose of it is what? You're supposed to share. It's a community of people. Comment, like, subscribe. Alhamdulillah, we've never said that on any HadithDisciple video. No, I'm not telling the people to do that. I'm saying that's the culture of when you have a YouTube video, you do what? Comment, like, subscribe. What heck is that, huh? We haven't done that. Walillahi alhamd, all right? But most of the videos you watch, that's what everyone is telling you to do. So the concept is that if you're on Facebook or YouTube or this app and that app, this social media platform, being discreet and private is relatively difficult. But it's possible if you have a close circle or inner circle of people. But oftentimes you may be close to someone, but that person is what? Talk to other people. Oh, look what this. Me and Mufti, we did this and we went here and Hey, I shared that picture with you. Not with what? This one and that one. Everyone understand this? So you have to prioritize, okay? Not being too secretive and not being too open. And I think that's one of the biggest flaws with young men and women today is they don't understand the concept of discretion. Discretion doesn't have to mean a secret. It doesn't have to mean haram or you're hiding, but it's just none of your business. You don't have to know. You don't need to know. Certain things are public, publicized. Other things what? Aren't. And oftentimes the things which aren't public or publicized, they're known. You know where I live at. You know what I'm doing. You know who I'm with. You know this. But that doesn't mean what? That person has to know. And there's no need to. So it's not. A secret is relative. Just like the unseen is what? Is relative. It's unseen to you, but those people, they what? They see it in another country. So you have to be mindful of discretion, all right? If you have some basic pictures or videos, you and your wife are going somewhere, she's covered properly, you're dressed properly, and you want to share your happiness with your friends and your family, tell you. As far as being uncovered, as far as being excessive, as far as being too intimate in front of people, things like that, that's a what? That's a different story, all right? But everyone wants to share with somebody. That's the nature of the human. You want to share your experiences with what? With somebody. Everyone has some type of picture. Everyone has some type of cool pose or look what I got, look at my new toy. A grown man. Your friend. You see what I'm saying? Your family. I got married or this and that. That's everybody. But know the what? Know the limits. Know the ledge, as they used to say back in the day. Everyone understand this? So that's my advice. And as I said, of course, no haram being done. You're being covered properly. Some brothers on Facebook, they're dressed inappropriately. They have tight clothes, muscle shirts, and that's no attack at Rip Right. Because he's talking about what? Actually bodybuilding or, getting in shape. But I'm talking about a brother who's just flexing, and if you're a flexer, that's fine. But don't play the other type of role. You see what I'm saying to you? And you got a crazy Facebook picture or a crazy WhatsApp profile pic, but you're super pious, and that's what I'm talking about. Everyone understand the difference? So just be balanced and be moderate. And that also applies to what? Rip Right too. Advice is for what? Oh, and Allah knows best.
This was Paul S. London, UK. I've heard people mention Imam Abu Hanifa fell into irja in some matters of Iman and Kufr. But when the same is said about Ghazali, people think it's offensive.
Question is from where?
London, UK.
London, UK. Of course. So here, I've heard people say that Imam Abu Hanifa has fallen into al-irja, and other mistakes in kufr and aqeedah, etc. But why do people get offended when they say the same thing about Sheikh Al-Albani? Whether what they say about Abu Hanifa is true or not, whether it is absolutely true, absolutely false, partially true, I'm with him. There's no doubt things have been what? Said about him in abundance. In abundance. All right? That's the bottom line. And there's no doubt that things have been said about other scholars of the modern age in abundance, like Al-Albani, rahimahullah, and others. So, what is our position? It is absolutely impermissible to say anything about a scholar, period. Right, wrong, mistake, controversy, scandal, their flesh is what? Poison. Period. Or they're no different than any average Muslim walking down the street. You can say whatever you want to say about them, do whatever you want to them, doesn't matter. Or they do have a status and they have a level and a station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right? And the asl of their blood and their flesh is that it's sacred and it's poison. And that you're not supposed to pick at them and stab at them and find fault at them. But that does not prevent someone from making scholastic criticism. Please, all viewers and listeners, understand this based off of science and knowledge and verified facts. That does not prevent you from saying what is the truth. He clearly said it right there. It's clearly mentioned. It's well known. So don't deny the truth and be naive. Husn al-dhan has a limit. Respect for someone and their status has a what? As a limit. The haqq is the what? Is the highest of the high. So there lies no doubt whether it's Abu Hanifa rahimahullah and Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala. It doesn't matter who it is. The people have a great deal of hypocrisy and double standards. And we've explained this many times. Many people, and the truth is to be said, they don't separate Shaykh al-Albani with regards to him as a person. And no doubt he has different persons. Shaykh al-Albani as a muhaddith. Shaykh al-Albani as an alim in general. Shaykh al-Albani as a da'iyah, a caller to the deen. Shaykh al-Albani with regards to his aqeedah and his defense of the aqeedah of the Salaf. Those are all wrapped up in one person. So many people, there's someone who says, Shaykh al-Albani said that hadith is hasan. However, after my research, I feel that hadith is munkar, is mawdu', batil. استعينوا على إنجاء الحوائج بالكتمان فإن كل ذي نعمة محسود. The hadith says استعينوا على إنجاء الحوائج بالكتمان. It says when you want something to be a success, then hide it, keep it secret. Keep it secret, right? Keep it what? Keep it secret. Why? فإن كل ذي نعمة محسود. Because everyone who has a blessing is what? Is envied. Everyone who has a blessing is what? Is envied. Now, no doubt it's a beautiful statement. That's a hadith. There are many hadiths on this. And Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, he holds the view that hadith is authentic. He holds the view that hadith is what? Authentic. There's some people, and I have the book personally, it was a student of knowledge or scholar, whatever you want to call him, he wrote an entire book refuting this hadith. Refuting this hadith. And his natija, his conclusion in this hadith is not daif or maybe his mawdu', fabricated. And on the cover of the book is a refutation of Shaykh al-Albani in Arabic. وَفِيهِ الرَّدْ عَلَى الْعَلَامَةِ الْأَلْبَانِي. And guess who did the introduction to the book? Shaykh Muqbil. And guess who agreed with the researcher in his conclusion that the hadith was totally false? Shaykh Muqbil. What does that mean? What's in the introduction to the book? What's on the back of the book, the excerpt of the book, is that us differing with Shaykh al-Albani on this hadith has nothing to do with what? Him as a what? As an alim, him as a caller to the Salaf. That we're talking about ilm al-hadith, period. Ilm al-hadith. And we feel in this hadith and many others and other methods, he's totally mistaken, period. And he called Shaykh mutasahil. He said the Shaykh is laxed in his gradings of hadiths in the book. Anyone, many brothers, they have this book. I'll show you the book if you think I'm just making this up. Al-Muhim is the point is that many people, they'll take that, oh, you're attacking Albani. Oh, you're supporting the Murji'ah, you're supporting the Ibadiyah, you're supporting Ahl al-Bid'ah. No, ya akhi. Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah is the one who taught us this ferociousness. He's the one who taught us to jump and to attack people when it comes to defending the what? Sunnah. Being fierce to preserve the hadith. And it's nothing to do with him and his aqeedah. He's an alim, he's upon the sunnah, salaf, but in this hadith, he's what? Wrong. I don't understand this? So many people, they'll take that scholastic criticism and say, you're what? Attacking Albani, you're splitting the ranks of the salaf. What is this kalam fadi? What is this nonsense, this hogwash? That the people who claim to follow the salaf have what? Been fed all of these years. I don't understand this? So one issue doesn't mean a mistake in a what? Another issue. And just because he's a great scholar of Islam doesn't mean that he's correct in this hadith. Everyone understand this? So many people, they'll attack Abu Hanifa, they'll talk about Abu Hanifa like a dog, but they say one thing about Shaykh al-Albani, cardinal sin. That's hypocrisy. That's what? It's hypocrisy. They'll talk about this imam, they refute him. Mubtadi' dal mudil. Another person, you can't say anything about him. And he's clearly mistaken. He's clearly what? He's clearly mistaken. So we have to be mindful of this, guys. Scholars have status on Islam. We respect them, we love them, we learn from them. There's no question about that. But it doesn't mean that we turn a blind eye to a incorrect statement or view or whatever the issue is. Everyone understand this? And obviously violence begets nothing more than what? Violence. So you keep refuting people and throwing Abu Hanifa's name in the dirt. He's a dog, he's this, he's that, he never did nothing. That's going to what? It's going to come back to you. And they're going to find faults in Albani. And they're going to find this about Ibn Taymiyyah. And they're going to read this about Bin Baz. And they're going to say this about Kada Kada. Whether it's right or what? Wrong. But that aggressiveness, that just being nasty, it's going to what? It's going to fall back on you. It's going to ricochet. So be mindful of that.
Initials MI Birmingham UK. Assalamu alaikum Sheikh. Is it permissible to change the intention of Umrah or Hajj after passing the miqat? Can Hajj be performed for a deceased who has already done it?
Repeat the question again, please.
Is it MI Birmingham UK? Assalamu alaikum Sheikh. Is it permissible to change the intention for Umrah or Hajj after passing the miqat? Can Hajj be performed for a deceased who has done it already?
As far as question come from the UK, Birmingham, changing one's intention after passing the miqat, so on and so forth. And can Hajj be done for someone who is deceased? The ulama of Islam, they say, is that there are different types of al-ihram, different types of Hajj / ihram. One can make tamattu, one can make qiran, one can make al-ifrad, okay, one can make the intention of umrah, mufradah, and one, some ulama say, at-ta'liq, in which you just leave it open. You leave it what? You leave it open. Everyone understand this? So it depends on what's your intention. What do you want to do? And what type of ihram did you say that you were going to do? As far as changing it, then we know that the Messenger of Allah, والسلام, the scholars of Islam, they differ on what type of Hajj he performed. Was it qiran? Was it this? And many say that the strongest view is that he performed a tamattu. Everyone understand this? So we know what his intention was. If I would have known now what I've known then, I would have what? He says, lama. He says, I would have done this, and I wouldn't have done that, and I would have made it a what? Everyone understand the hadith we're talking about or not? The Prophet ﷺ, Aisha's narration, the Prophet made Hajj only how many times? Once. Everyone understand this? There was no second or third time. He made Umrah how many times? No, several times. How many times did the Prophet make Umrah?
Yes.
Fadda.
Maybe.
He made Umrah several times. La. Not 10. He made several times. It's closer than 10. Al-Muhim is the Prophet made Hajj once and he made Umrah what? Several times. So the ulama of Islam, they differ on what type of a Hajj he made. What was his intention from the get-go? Changing your intention, turning it to something different, that's an option. But sometimes the best thing to do is to leave it what? Open. Ta'liq, some of the ulama, they say, with regards to the type of ihram that you're going to make. Everyone understand this? So that's one thing, in brief. As far as making Hajj for someone who is deceased, if you've made Hajj yourself, you've made the Hajj of al-Islam yourself, then that's one thing. As far as if you yourself have not performed the Hajj, then that's a different story. Everyone understand this? And what is the Hajj being done for this deceased Muslim? Is it a Muslim who vowed to make Hajj? He did it already. The one that passed made a Hajj. We're going to make a voluntary Hajj for them. Everyone understand this? Al-Muhim, the ulama of Islam, they differ on this with regards to doing acts of ibadah for the deceased. Many say that it's only sadaqah, dua, things like this. And others, they say it is open, any good deed. And some, they say that if you perform Hajj for someone who didn't do the Hajj and it was obligatory, that's one thing. But now, if they did it already, you're now doing a voluntary Hajj for them. And that voluntary Hajj is not sadaqah or dua. Everyone understand this? So if they did the Hajj already, they made the Hajj of al-Islam, I wouldn't do it again. I would give sadaqah and make dua for them on their behalf. And Allah knows best.
Initials AA, Miami, Florida. May Allah bless you, Sheikh, and the HadithDisciple. I've heard that it's okay to act upon weak ahadith that promote virtuous action, non-creedal issues. Is this correct, or should one refrain from doing it?
Question is from Miami. I've heard that it's permissible to act upon weak hadiths, as long as it isn't an issue of creed. Is this okay? Is this right? So on and so forth. Two main views of the ulama of Islam. One is the view of many of the early scholars, and one may even say the majority, is that it's permissible to mention weak hadiths. Mention them. Especially if it's talking about something of virtue. Especially if it's talking about zuhud and dhikr and things like this. As far as the halal and the haram, then it's also permissible to mention weak hadiths. Acting upon them, using them, different story. Everyone understand this? And then there are others who say that a da'if hadith is useless. And it cannot be used, it should not be used, it should not be mentioned, and it should be done away with. And this is the view of some of the ulama of Islam who came later on. Al-Mundhiri, Shaykh al-Albani, rahimahullah, and some attributed to Imam Muslim in the introduction to the Sahih, even though it's not direct, 100% what Imam Muslim said. Okay? Al-Muhim is that there's a difference between a hadith which is fabricated and made up and a hadith which is weak. There's a difference between you speaking to students of knowledge and you speaking to laymen. There's a difference between you making a clear disclaimer and you just saying it. Everyone understand this? And I believe that there's more than enough authentic hadiths for you to use and to circulate. But if you're actually asking about the truth, is it permissible to use? Then read the books of Ibn Rajab, Ibn Qayyim, Ibn Taymiyyah. You'll find all types of hadiths in there. Read Ibn Kathir, all types of hadith in there. And just because they mentioned a hadith that was weak doesn't mean that they believed in it or they were acting upon it, but they were what? Mentioning it, serving you. Also, last but not least, the difference between mentioning a hadith with its chain of narration and not mentioning the hadith with its chain of narration. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best.
So that part, okay, is accidentally swallowing water when rinsing the mouth nullify your fast? Not out of forgetfulness, but accidentally.
Question is from the UK with regards to swallowing water when you make wudu. Accidentally. Does it break your fast? No. Regardless, whether you forget or do it accidentally. There's no sin for doing something out of forgetfulness or out of an accident. Period. There's no sin and it doesn't break it because it wasn't intentional. And Allah knows best.
So MR Surah UK, what is the ruling on buffeting or scratching whilst in the state of Ihram? And what about praying before Ihram?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Scratching or itching in the state of Ihram, there's nothing wrong with it. That's fine. If a piece of hair falls off or something like that, that's also fine. It's permissible to do this or scratch your head. There's nothing wrong with that. And Allah knows best.
And what about praying before Ihram?
Praying before entering al-Ihram, with regards to the sunnah of Ihram or not, perhaps that's what the person is talking about. Some scholars say that there is no sunnah of Ihram. Some of them say there's no sunnah of Ihram. And the 2 rak'ah that you make, many of them say that is the sunnah of wudu. And others they say rather the hadith says, Salli fi hadha al-wadi. Someone came to me and he told me to change my intention. Everyone understand this? And he says, the hadith says, Salli fi hadha al-wadi, and pray in this valley. Alright? So we have the concept of general proofs versus specific proofs. When it comes to making a 2 rak'ah after you get into the state of Ihram, let's say you're at a Mathalan, Dhul Hulayfa in Medina, where most pilgrims from the Western countries go to before they go to Mecca to perform their Hajj or their what? Or their Umrah. I would understand this. So you remove your normal clothes, you get into the state of Ihram, whether you took a shower in a hotel or not, you're there, you make wudu. Many people they go into the masjid, pray, and then get on the road. Is that from the sunnah or not? Everyone understand this? It can go more than one what? More than one way. Wallahu alam.
Munich, Germany. Assalamu alaikum. A sister wants your advice on a situation she's in. Her dad, who isn't practicing at all, forces her to work, but after having worked for over a year and her iman and ibadah suffering due to that, she quit her job. He tells her if she doesn't work, she should get married then. But he only allows her to marry S.O from their own nationality, which makes it very hard to find a suitable brother. Should she obey her father and get a job again? What do you advise her with?
Fikum barakallah. May Allah remove any problem or harm from you, Ameen, and make your situation manageable and give you more support, Ameen. Walaikum salam to Allah. Adin al nasiha. You give your father advice and ask your father, what do you want from me, Abby? Do you want me to be happy? Or you want me to marry someone that I won't be happy with? What happens if I'm not happy? What type of grandchildren will I raise? Or what type of grandchildren will you have? Will you even have grandchildren? You see what I'm saying to you? Many people, they marry their daughters off for many reasons. One, because daughters need to be married off. It's a responsibility, a duty on the father. Many fathers, of course, they want children, they want grandchildren. I don't understand, they want their daughters to be happy. Or it may be a financial burden on them. She's big, she's grown. Well, how could that? So just marrying your daughter off to anybody or marrying off to someone that she's going to be happy with and pleased with, and someone that she can get along with and be a good Muslimah with and bring the fruits of that marriage. So inshallah, I would give advice to your father, have someone give advice to your father, and see how he's thinking. Maybe he needs to be reminded of the obligation of treating daughters kindly in Islam and things like this. Okay? If there's no way out and he forces you to get a job or forces you to get married to someone that you don't want to get married, then that's obviously it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. Wallahu a'lam.
J.A. Philadelphia, PA. Assalamu alaikum. When learning the Arabic language, is the main objective to read and understand instead of speaking the language? Is there another program for those that want to speak it?
Learning Arabic, with regards to the intention of reading and writing or speaking or understanding, give or take from Philly. I don't think you should separate it. Don't split it up. It's one language, one culture, so keep the learning process as one. Of course, there are different skill sets that you learn, different tools, different exercises that are focused on different parts, of course. But learn Arabic as a language. I want to be able to write it. I want to be able to read it. I want to be able to understand it. And I want to be able to say it. Make that your intention. Inshallah.
MS, UK, London. Can the layman be classified as Ahlul Bid'ah? What in reality does it take for someone to become Ahlul Bid'ah?
Tell you, how much time do we have?
What time for 8:40? Or you pushing it back?
We got 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Tell you, at the end of the day, can a layman person be from Ahlul Bid'ah? And what makes a person to go or to be among Ahlul Bid'ah? A very important question. And like many other things, a great deal of confusion, a great deal of misunderstanding, extremism, aggression, ignorance, dhulm, regarding this concept of who is or who isn't Ahlul Bid'ah. When does a person become from Ahlul Bid'ah? At the end of the day, I think it's a yes and a no answer. A layman person who's taught a certain way, lives in a certain country, follows a certain imam or leader, practices a certain practice of Islam, is generally with them. And from another aspect, the layman person is a layman. They're a follower. They're not a leader. They're not a head. They don't know what they're doing. They're just following what they were taught. They're following what was given to them. And if you sit down with them and talk with them, many of them, not all of them, will change. They'll thank you. Of course, there'll be people who are stubborn. There'll be people who will be, they won't want to accept it. They'll be hard-headed. But some people would change. Some would. So at the end of the day, when we talk about a country in which the people practice a type of Islam that's incorrect, or masjid that's incorrect, the leader, the head of the group, the evil heads of the innovation, they're nothing without their followers. So their followers make up a part of them and their movement. But from another aspect, they're still what? Followers, all right? And they're not heads. So that's in general, with regards to the time that we have, all right? When does a person become from Ahlul Bid'ah? This is a major fitna. People are so concerned with this. And many people, they don't make a distinction between a 9-to-5 Muslim who's just trying to make a couple of dollars, take care of his family, and practice Islam the best way he knows how, okay? And someone who has the fitrah of Islam, they believe what they were taught, and they follow the loudest voice. The one that comes to them and speaks to them, that's what they follow. Can you call them Ahlul Bid'ah? Whether they are, whether they aren't, whether they do, whether they don't, going to their masjids, teaching them, and even cooperating with them upon birr and taqwa, that's a whole different discussion. Everyone understand this? Let alone the fact if they're just ignorant Muslims. They're Muslims who just work and come to the mosque and pray. And someone comes to speak to them and talk to them, that's a different story. The last piece of advice is don't be hasty and don't be narrow-minded and short-sighted. Many people, they say, well, you go to this masjid, nothing has changed. Or they're not going to change. You gave them a lecture, they're not changing. Okay, how long did Nuh alayhi salam call his people? What did the Prophet go through calling his people? What did Musa alayhi salam say to the Prophet of Islam when he asked them how many prayers were made mandatory upon the ummah? He says, go and ask Allah for less, because your nation can't do that. I know. I've dealt with Bani Israel, and I know what people are like. So you have to look far down the road. If you keep teaching and cooperating, if you just present good akhlaq, even if they don't agree with you, but the sheer fact that there's a Muslim who has knowledge, who isn't upon our Sufi way or whatever bid'ah way, but he has good character. He has good character. He's not rude, he's not nasty. He has very good character. That may have an effect. May take a year or 5 years, maybe with the children. Allahu alam. You may come to do one class or a khutbah and you don't think that people are changing, and then they may call you a month later, please come do 2 khutbahs a month. A couple years later on, they may say, please run the summer school, the camp. You never know what can happen. So just call to Allah, try to teach the people the sunnah with gentleness, with patience, and with wisdom. That's